You're listening to Music Tectonics.
Welcome back to Music Tectonics, where we go beneath the surface of music and tech. I'm your host, Dmitri. I'm also the founder and CEO of Rock, Paper, Scissors, the PR and marketing firm that specializes in music tech and innovation. And the Music Tectonics Conference is less than a week away. It takes place October 22nd to 24th in Santa Monica. Badge sales are higher than ever, and we expect this to be the most talked about music tech event of the year. Badges are still available, so you can still jump on this. We've added a creator fair where you can put your hands on new musical instruments from Pioneer DJ, from Alpha Theta, from Roland, Blip Blocks, Artiphon, and the creepy awesomeness of the Demon Box, which makes sound powered by any electronic device that emits electromagnetic currents. You've got to see this in person. But it's not like we've gotten rid of the main conference where decision makers from the music industry get to be there first, to try out, hear from, and invest in all types of music tech that help generate new revenue streams or create more engaging and immersive fan experiences. Today, on the episode, we have a couple of short conversations with two companies who will be doing this very thing on the beach with us in Santa Monica, WalkThruMusic and KiTbetter. In a few moments, I speak with Zack Settel, the co-founder and CTO of WalkThruMusic, who will be giving VR demos at the conference where you can walk through a song and experience music in a brand new physical way. But first, my co-host, Tristra Jaeger, speaks with Jennifer Sullivan, representing KiTbetter, about the importance of physical experiences in a digital music world and how to enrich digital music experiences in a way that's truly meaningful to fans and that's fun for artists and their teams.
Hi, Jennifer. Thank you so much for coming to speak with me about KiTbetter.
Thank you so much for having me.
So first, I want to ask you just to introduce yourself and talk about your relationship with KiTbetter, Muse Live, this wonderful company that is going to be coming to Music Tectonics to talk about their really interesting offering.
Yes, absolutely. So, and thank you again for having me. I have been a longtime fan of everything that Rock, Paper, Scissors does. I run a marketing company called Membrane based in LA. And we typically do a lot of trend reporting. So a couple of years ago, I was at CES and several of my friends were texting me, telling me you need to check out this booth for this company called KiTbetter. And they had this technology that reminded them of hit clips, which were a Hasbro product that launched it back in 1999 and were actually the origin story for Membrane, my current company. And Membrane had essentially done all of the music licensing for hit clips on behalf of Hasbro. And so when I saw the product, the KiTalbum, which is essentially this little device that comes in a beautifully packaged box that unlocks content on any smartphone, I got very excited because I immediately thought of hit clips. But I also thought once I got into the technology, I got really excited about the fact that they had several patents on the technology. Last year, they won a innovation award at CES. And to me, whenever I see a new innovation, I always think about protectability, something that's distinguishable, something that sets it apart from competitors, something unique that they can offer to the marketplace. And I'm a former opera singer and music teacher, and I had a career in music at one point, but one of my biggest challenges was finances and figuring out how to pay for my life as a musician without taking 10 different jobs. So luckily, being a musician and having to survive, I learned to do graphic design. I learned how to teach. I learned all of these different skills. But when I learned that artists were making $5 per product sold on these products, I got very excited as well. So that's kind of the origin story of how I was introduced to the KiTalbum. It was a chance encounter in Vegas at CES.
I love it.
As you do. I met the chief technology officer and he and I became really good friends. And within a few months, I started working with the company. And then just recently, I became their chief marketing officer about 2 months ago, which has been a really exciting opportunity in addition to my role with Membrane.
Amazing. So there are two parts to, as you explained, to a KIT album. And this is not, I mean, while KIT is amazing, these two parts are very much in the conversation right now, right? So we have the physical object, which is very important to fans, especially younger fans, we're hearing. And then you have the digital experience, which, can be enriched in all sorts of ways. So I want to dive into both of those. First, let's talk about the physical side. Physical formats have had obviously a longstanding history in music and a lot of cultural meaning and weight. They seem to be resurging in people's hearts and minds. Why do you think that's happening? What's happening with these sort of physical objects and their relationship with music?
Well, I think we've seen a shift. Records and cassettes and CDs in some ways have diminished in value. Records were something very premium that people literally would put on their walls. But then cassettes and CDs, I think with digital technology, were immediately impacted because they could be replicated and duplicated. And I feel like music has become invisible for a lot of people, in terms of, if you think about consumer value, people are willing to pay for something, but they want something in return. And it's hard to manifest something that is invisible. And that's why we're seeing this resurgence in, vinyl records coming back, even though I think the statistics, something like 50% of people that buy vinyl don't have record players. And I think that has, a lot of people credit nostalgia, but to me, it's actually more about consumer value and the value proposition of making a purchase and getting something in return, something that you can hold in your hands. It's also kind of, if you think about, a souvenir, whenever you have an experience, you want to take something away with you. So I think, when we see live shows having fantastic merchandise results, that's because when people go to a show, they don't just want to, go and see it. They also want to go and come back with something as a reminder of that experience. And so I think even though there's so much opportunity with digital technology where we have access to endless catalogs of music, and it's democratized the ability for artists to reach, audiences around the world, there's still a desire from a fan perspective to have something that they can hold in their hands. And I think that the quality of what that something is also now at a higher level than it ever was before, because, we have a lot of different things that we can purchase. And I think if we're going to make an investment in something like music, we want something that, is unique, something that, kind of sets it apart. It's just like if you were to go to a movie in a movie theater, you have the ability to watch a movie at home. But if you're able to have a special experience in the theater, if it's, made for a theater experience, I think all of entertainment is kind of experiencing this, there's a convenience factor that's associated with a lot of streaming types of technologies, but then the experience can be sacrificed. So we're trying to find a place in between.
And there's also an element in the digital realm of how we can enrich music beyond, just providing an on-demand stream or a file, etc. And I know this is part of KiTalbum, and it's part of some other experiences that people are building out there when it comes to having enhanced visuals or additional quote-unquote content. How are you seeing digital experiences being enriched in music right now? How are artists or labels or innovators approaching this from different angles? What do you think?
Well, I think data is what everyone is really focused on when it comes to digital technology. There's insights, there's information that you can learn about your fans. Ownership of that data is something that's increasingly become a topic of conversation in the industry. I think James Blake has been very vocal recently about,
Yes.
Having the ability to own his own audience, whether that's for ticketing, whether that's for the streaming, whether that's social media. I think, for us, what's exciting about the KiTalbum is that we offer 30 points of data for artists on a physical product sale. So once, you sell a CD, you don't get any data about the fan, you just know that they've made a purchase. As long as you're a wholesaler or whomever is telling you, who's made the purchase. But with the KiTalbum, you have access to a dashboard of information about, how many times your fan has listened to each one of the songs and who the number one fan is and where they're located in the world and how old they are and their demographics. And I think that's what we're seeing as the, value proposition for the future for musicians is, owning your data, owning your audience, being able to have a direct relationship with your fans to the extent that you are able to make, decisions about how you're marketing, where you're performing, all of those sorts of things. So I think that's the most important aspect of digital. That and, obviously having some kind of, enhanced experience for your music. So we're also offering like video content. So it's not just the, passive listening. It's also kind of the ritual of sitting down and having a fully immersive album experience.
Amazing. So this really plays into the conversation around superfans that's going to feature pretty prominently at this year's Music Tectonics. I'd love to hear your thoughts on what you think superfans are looking for and what haven't we quite cracked in the music industry or in the offerings that we're making to fans. How could we encourage people to get more out of music?
Yeah, I feel like music is, I think it should be something to be treasured. And I think super fans have this, almost irrational connection to their favorite artists. It's something that's fully emotional. And they want something they can cherish, something they can hold in their hands. That's why you see fans that'll, purchase multiple versions of an album, or they'll buy, all of the merchandise that's made available. I think we've kind of veered towards novelty quite a bit in music, where it's, it's t-shirts, it's hats, it's all of these things that are not music. They're, kind of ancillary promotional types of products. And where I think it's important to focus again, and we're seeing it with vinyl, and hopefully we'll see it with the KiTalbum, is bringing the value proposition back to the music format itself.
That's really cool. That's a great point. I mean, I've heard of artists doing all sorts of interesting things, from like their own apps with mobile games to really complicated physical objects like wooden puzzles, or all sorts of crazy stuff. Some stuff that's not safe for work or for mention on a professional podcast. But you're right. The music, I mean, essentially that stuff is fun. And I think I love seeing people experiment with that. But the farther away we get from music, the more we're actually making the long-term job of marketing or promoting ourselves way harder.
Yes.
Yeah. It's really interesting. So Kit has a really interesting technical side, and then I want to talk about our technological side. And this is a music tech podcast, so I want to dive into the technology. It uses a technology called UNFC. And so I was wondering if you could let us know what that is and why it was so perfect for this kind of application.
So Muse Live is the manufacturer behind KiTbetter. And they started in 2015 with NFC, which is near field communication, which we're all pretty familiar with now because it's what Apple Pay uses. It's, built into most smart devices, most smartphones. Originally, the Muse Live released the album as an NFC album. They were the first company to ever do that, which was exciting and interesting. But what they realized quickly was that there were some limitations to NFC. Number one being that it wasn't installed in devices like tablets, and it still isn't available in a lot of tablets because you don't pay with your tablet. You don't really need to have that capability in that device. And head-mounted displays and all of these kind of future-proofed technologies that are coming. So they created a new technology called ultrasonic NFC. So it doesn't rely on your smart device having NFC capabilities. So it will work with any device that has a microphone, which is a standard feature on any smart device. So it uses ultrasonic sound, and it's a signature. It's an audio signature that is a one-to-one key that unlocks the content on the authenticated user's device. So that means that only the person that has the KiTalbum, that has the Kit device, I should say, is granted access to the data, and that can be music and videos and photos and all kinds of other things. But it acts as a password. And so the user is able to log in without having to do anything except for clicking a little button on the Kit device next to the Kit player, which is an app in any app store. And like I said, that unlocks 40 points of data for the artist. So they have a dashboard and they can see every time that the fan is clicking in to their album experience. They can see how many times the fan is playing each one of their songs, how long they're staying within the experience. It also is more secure than other technologies. There's no ability to pirate the content, so it's all within the Kit player experience. It's an app. And so whenever the fan is in the experience, that's exclusively to them. If they give their Kit device to a friend, like you would a CD or a cassette tape, their friend then has access to the content, but they no longer have access to the content. So it's exactly the same as any other physical media. Which is, it's great for us because it gives us the ability to kind of control the, kind of file sharing, those sorts of things, which really aren't as much of an issue anymore now that streaming's just kind of decimated, music, digital music. The other thing that's exciting about this is that we can offer high resolution files. So our cloud-based servers are, pretty unlimited in terms of size. So we can have FLAC files, we can have WAV files. We don't have to be relegated to MP3. So the sound quality can also be pretty exciting. We're also looking at like spatial audio right now as something that we can offer. We can offer full films on the player. So, that just gives you a sense of the capabilities of using this type of a technology versus a technology that's more of a novelty where it just is there to kind of be a shortcut to Spotify or iTunes or whatever else you're listening to. Apple Music, I should say.
Gotcha. So it's like not just a web link in a pretty box. It's actually got a bunch of other stuff that really differentiates it from just having someone basically open a Dropbox.
Yeah, and you don't have to have a separate account. You don't have to, be signed into your Spotify or whatever other account it's linking to. It creates kind of an immersive experience all within the same ecosystem. So you're staying within the player and you're having a special experience that's just exclusive to whatever artist you're a fan of.
Amazing. Well, thank you, Jennifer, so much for introducing us to KiTalbums and MuseLive and NFC technology. Right? You mentioned that that's it's a patented tech, right?
It is. We have several patents. We were honored with an innovation award this year at CES, and we're hoping for continued awards for the technology. I think it's over 20 patents that protect the technology, including some NFC technologies as well. So. It's exciting to work with this team. Plus, they have their own store that they just opened in Seoul, Korea. They have their own factory. It's a smart factory. They have offices in Seoul, and then they've just opened a store in a really popular, trendy area of Seoul. That's a 4-story store. It's a music store, which is super exciting.
That is exciting.
There's a performance space. There's a meet and greet area for, pop idols to come in and. I love the idea that it's kind of bringing back that tangible, fan experience in every way possible.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I'll see you at Music Tectonics.
Yay! We're excited to be there. Thank you so much for having us.
We've got to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Hey, Music Tectonics listeners. Shaylee here again with another conference programming update. First, I want to share a little bit about one of our keynote conversations. Bifurication, the presidential debate with Mark Mulligan and Tatiana Sarasano of Media Research. As election fever builds, Music Tectonics brings you its very own music industry presidential debate. On one side, the traditional, streaming-focused music business. On the other, the emerging fandom and creator-centered sector. Streaming and social go head-to-head. Media analysts will present the case for each side as they explain how, regardless of which side you may be backing, today's music business will become two. This next panel is a favorite of mine each year because of how quickly the landscape is evolving. The State of Music and Gaming, with panelists from Riot Games, Epic Games, Tune Global, being moderated by industry expert Vicky Nauman. Music has a crush on the gaming industry, and exciting things are developing that smash two of the most powerful culture industries together. Find out from leaders in gaming how music is staying core to the gamer experience and why so many labels and artists think of games as a growth opportunity. That's it for now. If you haven't secured your badge, head over to musictectonics.com to purchase yours now. See you soon.
And we're back. Next up is my conversation with Zack Settel of WalkThruMusic. We get into his crazy invention that allows you to not only walk through a song virtually and sonically, but gives the potential to create music in this immersive way as well. Okay, I'm excited. We've got with us here a really cool new startup called WalkThruMusic, and one of our guests is the co-founder and CTO, Zack Settel. Welcome to the show, Zack.
Hey, Dmitri.
And also joining us is Dick Wingate. He's the principal of the music and technology consulting firm Dev Advisors. Dick's working with Zack and WalkThruMusic. He's also a regular at the Music Tectonics Conference, so a lot of you already know him. Hey, Dick, good to have you here.
It's great to be here, Dmitri, and I look forward to Music Tectonics as much as any event all year. So here we are. It's almost October.
Yes. This will be just a couple weeks from the conference. This episode's coming out, and let's dive right in. Zack, what is WalkThruMusic, and how did you get here?
Well, WalkThruMusic has become a technology for creating and rendering music experiences. Unlike the other three DOF spatializer techs like Ambisonics or Dolby Atmos or Apple Sony 360. WTM uses spatial depth navigation to give you a much greater degree of sonic interaction as a listener.
Wait, what does that mean? Wait, tell me what that means, Zack.
So basically what it means is we, unlike the other spatializers that are targeting panable soundtracks, they give you a universe of panable soundtracks that are designed initially to sort of like surround sound to bring audio to loudspeaker systems, configurations like in a theater and so on and so forth. And they work, the regular convention, the spatializers use sort of an abstract model to locate sounds in the abstract space of listening, mixing, studio space. And WalkThruMusic, instead of targeting a soundtrack, it targets what we call a music scene. And a music scene consists of sounds and a venue. If you take one great example is just the orchestra. If you take a concert hall and you model that and you model the sound sources in that concert hall, but specifically instruments and things like that, you end up with what I call a music scene, what we call a music scene, that includes sort of the important features of that venue music listening experience. And so when you're, as a user in that music scene, you can navigate your perspective just the same way as you could do in a symphony orchestra concert hall or anywhere else for that matter. And you can move around, and anytime you move, no matter whether you're close or far away, the distance between you and each instrument changes. And it gives a liveliness to it. Yeah. So it's
the name. I mean, the name is perfect, Zack. WalkThruMusic. What you're saying is some of these other ones, you put it on, you listen to it, and you get a sense of things coming from different directions. But what you're saying is you can actually move through the sound with the way you've got it set up.
Right. So
that makes sense.
If our technology was like the others, we would call it pan through music.
Okay.
But it's not. We actually can use the depth dimension and take our listening perspective in a given music scene, which is another way of saying mix, And we use the word 60OF because 60OF basically means you can pan your listening around just like you can do with Dolby Atmos and the other things, and particularly with Apple spatial headphones and those things, right? It's really groovy. But you can also step to the left, step to the right, move forward and backwards within that sonic image. And to us, that's a key thing. It brings a lot of stuff. And, the tech so far, our experience starting with me, gets people excited because it uses sonic depth to the sonic depth that your navigation gives you a sense of really being where the music is, much more so. Right. It's very, very, very lively. It vividly intensifies listening by letting you hear a lot more detail in the music, meaning that if you feel like walking up to the electric guitar amp, you're going to hear that solo, you're going to hear, or you walk up to a singer real up close and personal, you're going to hear all kinds of details that you wouldn't be able to get at otherwise. And I'm not saying you want to or don't want to do that. That's a question of that's a whole other subject. But this technology in addition to what soundtracks give you, it lets you do a whole bunch more stuff as well.
Got it. So I'm curious, how did immersive music come to be what it is, and how you fit into that? How did you get here?
Okay, well, my story in all of this is I used to be one of those weird, probably still am, but one of those esoteric electronic music types. I was one of in the core, beginning team of Max MSP and then Pure Data and so on and so forth. And we did a lot of music back then using computers. And at some point we ended up being able to bring our computer up on stage with us and performing on stage with a computer. And at some point, David Zuccarelli, who's the founder of Cycling 74, pointed out in an ICMC, International Computer Music Conference talk back in the day, he pointed out that all the musicians, computer music musicians, were becoming office workers. And we all be sitting up on the stage, glued to a desk, basically, playing a saxophone alongside of the desk and, changing parameters and foot pedals and so on and so forth. And at some point, I kind of got fed up with, I thought he was right. And I got fed up with not being able to walk around and move around the way we used to do, or the way you do when you play acoustically. So that began my journey into pretty much the virtualization of, now I know what it is. Back then I had no idea what to call it, but that really was my first step towards the virtualization of spatial processes. And at the beginning, it was really just busing my saxophone sound through the air in a virtual scene and hitting effects processing targets, which may be kind of an abstract thing, but basically it was a spatial interface that more or less imitated how the physics of how the sound moves and things like that. And before I knew it, I was starting to do other things using that representation. My big sort of awakening came kind of like in the days of surround sound. I had created an app to go with the Yamaha DMC 1000 mixer so that you could deal with surround sound. And a friend of mine here in Montreal, Luc Corchem, had a project, and he needed sync sound because his video project, which consists of using a spherical camera to go through neighborhoods in Japan, he lacked the sync sound. There was a truck parked on the side of the road. There were some people walking. And as you went through his video, you seriously were in need of sort of sync sound. So he got me to use my surround sound spatializer to do that. And I thought, oh, I've got this. This is perfect. Turns out that my concept was completely backwards. I needed something that was able to simulate a moving listener and not moving sound sources. And surround sound does not have a moving listener if you discount rotation and panning. Right. So suddenly I realized I needed to turn my thinking upside down and start thinking about what a mobile listener in a virtual scene really means. And then the rest is just sort of what happened over the years, trying different things and making art and dance pieces and things like that were inspired by the use of gaming technology, because in the end we're talking about things that come very easily to let's say game
right, because in
game authoring.
Gaming, there's a player who's in a place, whereas in music oftentimes you're listening, either sitting still or doing something else rather than participating in a way. That makes a lot of sense. And it makes me wonder, like, what have the breakthrough moments been in immersive music in recent years? I mean, we've got the the gaming thing is a great point, but we've seen VR headsets and things like that.
Yeah.
How do you think about why immersive music even is a space that people are experimenting with and exploring?
I think that I'll take that one. I think that's a great transition from the discussion of gaming, because that's essential to the culture today, and essential being that gamers and people in general that are sort of lean forward consumers of music and culture want to be able to personalize their experience. And that's what WalkThruMusic is all about. It's about personalization. So we've seen breakthroughs in terms of gaming events that have been well publicized with artists, but we're also the things like in real world examples like the Van Gogh exhibitions, which have been very, very, very popular in multiple cities, and the forthcoming Bob Marley interactive experience in Las Vegas. The Sphere in Vegas is a great example of an interactive experience. And if this week, or maybe sometime in the last week or so, I noticed that Warner Brothers Discovery announced an entirely new division covering experiences, theme parks, tours, exhibitions, etc., and to bring best in class experiences to fans around the world. So Dolby Atmos and the other formats which have been referred to already definitely have already opened the door to a better audio experience. As I think you said, Dmitri, they're fixed. There are a lot of different positions, but they're fixed. And WalkThruMusic allows for much more customization. So I want to be up close, and I want to be right in front of Lars of Metallica. So I'm hearing the drums featured. There you go.
Yeah. Zach, what will the experience be like with WalkThruMusic? How are you guys pushing what some of this context Dick is talking about into a new type of experience?
Great question. So it's a vast sort. We think our technology is quite disruptive in the grand scheme of things, because we focus, first of all, because understanding that we're most disruptive in a music context. We think it's disruptive because it is saying you're making music now where the listener can move around. So that has enormous implications in terms of sonic interaction. It has enormous implications in terms of composition creation, strategies to create sonic experiences that will lend well to a navigable listener. And there's been very, very surprisingly, very little sort of work or art done based on this concept. Certainly it's got to be out there because it's in the air. But it's surprising. We're always surprised to see just how novel our proposition appears to be. So, and I'll just give a quick little example. We had some research with the Montreal Symphony Orchestra and the SAT, the Société des Arts Technologiques in Montreal. At the SAT, they're kind of pioneers in domes. And 10 years ago, they had a giant 18, 20 meter dome with 151, the Myers space map sound system, 151 speakers and all kinds of advanced audio propositions going on back then. And out of this sort of technology came a research project with the Montreal Symphony Orchestra to essentially create a navigable listening experience that would get young people excited about checking out orchestral music. So they were motivation was to basically build new audiences. But in that effort, you realize that you're taking a music that was composed, 2 centuries ago, and putting it in a brand new context. Compositionally, how does that, does it work? Does it sound good? Where in that immersive space would you like to listen to it from? We learned a lot about that. So I'd say that it's very early in terms of immersion. I'd say that the panable listener, such as we have today with Dolby Atmos and basically all the other current spatialization systems, that panable listener that can't move is turning into a completely navigable listener that can pan and that can translate in music scenes and specifically in games, because we can now include those activities, that kind of interaction. The level of immersion goes up a notch.
Yeah. I mean, do you imagine this being the type of like immersive Van Gogh experiences that Dick referred to, or, like these in-person experiences, or was this an at-home experience with, new types of headsets or headphones
What's great about it is it's agnostic to this way of working and rendering audio, creating and rendering audio is agnostic to what they call the audio display system. So it could be binaural headphones, any speaker system, including the Sphere in Las Vegas, whose job it is to deliver audio as spatially complete as possible, will work. So this system is intended to work across the board.
Gotcha. So I think you're going to have this experience set up for Music Tectonics conference goers to experience. You're also going to be speaking on a panel about immersive music. But how will our attendees experience WalkThruMusic when they arrive?
We will have a demo booth with the alpha version of our demo, our latest demo, and we will have some Meta Quest 3 headsets that will allow users, probably just in VR mode. The demo works in VR and AR mode. We'll probably just keep it simple and to the point, and users will be able to put on the headset and walk through the music. Basically,
such a good name. Yeah. Right. We do kick off the event at the carousel at the Santa Monica Pier, which is on the beach, and there'll be lots of great experiences there. And then we continue on over at this basically beach house, this pool house that, we won't let you walk into the pool or the ocean as you're getting sonically intrigued and immersed. This is really cool to get a deep dive into what you guys are up to. Where do you think we'll be with immersive music in, say, 5 years?
Well, maybe Dick, do you want to take your first crack?
I'll take. I think we're just dipping our toe into immersive music, and I think that the 5-year horizon, from my perspective, is to not just make it available to be immersed and navigate and personalize, but then to socialize it so that we can, share the same experience, not unlike gaming, only now we're sharing a music experience where we're navigating through a venue, or we're navigating through on stage with the band, or any environment that makes sense to navigate the music. And so that's to me, I think social will be the next level for immersive music.
Just to add to what Dick's saying, basically what our proposition says is that you don't use soundtracks anymore. If you want to have a soundtrack, you can still have it, right? You can just stick it in your virtual environment, coming out of speakers, just like you have in Roblox or Fortnite or whatever. But really what our proposition is saying, basically, we would like to see music be we would like to see music have the option to be geometrically integrated into our virtual experiences. That means the music, the sources of the music, the instruments, everything, they're embodied, they occupy space, and they're geometrically integrated in those environments. So I would say that geometric integration, I think, will happen over the next 5 years, and it will allow people to do live streaming that really makes people feel like they're actually there where the music is being played, bringing people that much closer to the remote venue.
To me, the gating factor on the growth of this entire area is enabling the stems to be utilized in this fashion. And we're still at the very earliest days of, especially the major labels, allowing their stems to be used accordingly. Now, they can be extracted using the various AI technologies, and that'll work, but they're not going to be as pristine as what you would get from the masters. So that's a gating factor that I think will get better and better as the labels figure out the model for licensing their stems. It's still so early in that regard.
You know, Zack, as you were talking about the geometric experience of music in games, in these digital spaces, it made me think about that weird sort of joy you get when you're walking up to like an outdoor festival stage where you're hearing something from behind you, you're hearing something from in front of you, from the left, from the right. And as you're moving towards it, your heart almost like fills up. You get this like wave of chills of the spatialness of the experience you're having that you don't think about consciously when you're at a festival. And you don't think about it consciously when you're listening to headphones, listening to a record or a streaming service where it's very flat, that you don't notice that it's gone. But I think we're going to start to notice it more when we have the types of experiences you described, where it feels like, oh, shoot, we've been missing an element this whole time, that embodied element of music, where we're going from this flat, abstracted sense of listening to this embodied presence. Like you have a sense that you are somewhere rather than this invisible space. You can't see the studio, you can't see the instruments or the artists, but sonically, we're going to start to experience a sense of that location.
And it's discovery too, it can really, it opens the door to discovery, not only in terms of the music you already know or new music or whatever, but, as an artistic, as let's say a creative operator in this new frontier, I think over the next 5 years, we're going to, not only will we be able to experience existing music like this, but people are going to listen to that and say, damn, you know what? I can create some music that could be listened to with the idea that people will pass through it in different ways more than one time to discover new aspects. And one great example of music that can work that way, I don't know if how familiar the audience might be with Steve Reich or John Adams or the classic contemporary music composers, but they write this kind of music that, when you're hearing them live or in rehearsals and things like that, and you just change your position, by 6 feet, suddenly the groove that's like going in 4, it's like 4/4, turns into like a 3 groove. And you're like, what? And that happened because you just happen to move. So I think creatively, provided that people have access to this, there's a huge amount of new things that we can't even imagine that we're going to be able to do.
You just got me thinking about spatial polyrhythms.
Yes.
That's just so cool. I love that you're coming to be at Music Tectonics, Zack and Dick. Zack, as an artist yourself, as a musician yourself, I can see the excitement. It's like another parameter that you're playing with that you couldn't get out of a saxophone by itself. And that kind of artistic vision is awesome. I'm really excited to try these out when we get to Music Tectonics. So I'll see you in a couple of weeks, guys.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
The news cycle of the music industry and innovation in particular is accelerating at such a fast pace, it can be hard to keep up. That's why I launched Rock Paper Scanner, a free newsletter you can get in your inbox every Friday morning. Check out bit.ly/RP Scanner. That's bit.ly/RP Scanner. I scan hundreds of outlets for you, from the music trades to the tech blogs, from the music gear mags to lifestyle outlets, so that you don't have to. I handpick everything music tech, including industry revenue numbers, AI, cool new user tools, the live music and recording landscapes, partnerships and acquisitions, and everything else a Music Tectonics podcast listener would want to know. Open a browser right now and punch in bit.ly/rpscanner to sign up right now. Go ahead, hit pause and go to bit.ly/rpscanner, or find the episode's blog post on musictectonics.com and find that link. Happy scanning, but for now, happy listening.
I'm back. That was a blast. You too can join us in less than 2 weeks on the beach to see demos of these products and to have your own engaging and relevant conversations with a variety of people. The people that you want to talk to. Go to musictectonics.com/conference to get tickets and to see the amazing lineup of speakers and events that we have planned for you. I hope I'll see you there. Thanks for listening to Music Tectonics. If you like what you hear, please subscribe on your favorite podcast app. We have new episodes for you every week. Did you know we do free monthly online events that you, our lovely podcast listeners, can join? Find out more at musictectonics.com. And while you're there, look for the latest about our annual conference and sign up for our newsletter to get updates. Everything we do explores the seismic shifts that shake up music and technology, the way the Earth's tectonic plates cause quakes and make mountains. Connect with Music Tectonics on Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn. That's my favorite platform. Connect with me, Dmitri Vitsa, if you can spell it. We'll be back again next week, if not sooner.
You're listening to Music Tectonics.